the different dimensions of the paper, specifically about performance hierarchy and about strategic objectives, mission, and importance of strategic planning, and about strategic management accounting, and all the related topics such as critical success factors and KPIs. So we already have covered all these basics of this paper. In this lecture, we are going to discuss the various models which are used in this paper. And interestingly, these models you might have studied at your SPL paper as well, but the application of these models is different at Advanced Performance Management. For example, we are starting with pest analysis. Now, at SPL paper, you have studied about the PESTEL model, PESTEL. PESTEL model is used for macro environment analysis or environmental analysis. At SPL level, we study PESTEL model to understand the macroeconomic factors or macro environmental factors and how those factors might affect the strategic planning of an organization. So we study PESTEL model at SPL level to understand that how the different factors would affect the strategy of the organization, would affect the positioning of the organization. But here at APM level, we study these models in performance context. I mean, we study this model, PEST model, to analyze and evaluate how the different macroeconomic factors may affect the performance of the organization. Okay, if we look at the past papers, yes, this topic has been tested multiple times in the past papers, and the style of testing is different. For example, you might be given a scenario where an organization is operating in an industry, in a market where the political, economic, social, technological, or environmental factors are changing. Okay, then the question may ask you now to recommend the suitable KPIs or advise the board or advise the CEO or advise the executive management of the organization that how these changing factors may impact the performance of the organization. For example, if there's inflation, or if there is a recession, or if there is a new regulatory changes. So the question may ask you that evaluate how these changes may impact performance of the organization and how it should be included in its performance measurement systems. What? How to include these factors into performance measurement system of the organization. Okay, so if yes, sometimes this would be the style of the question. In another question, a question might ask you to evaluate existing KPIs. Please listen. A question might ask you to evaluate existing measures or KPIs and evaluate whether these are suitable in the changing landscape, in the changing circumstances, and recommend further suitable KPIs. So this style of question has been tested in the past paper, and in the future you can expect on similar ground. Okay, so I hope you have understood a little bit about how these models are tested. So let's move on and discuss the PEST analysis. So PEST analysis seeks to identify the main factors in the macro environment which will affect an organization performance. So this is the point that you need to understand, that these are the factors that may affect the performance of the organization. These factors have traditionally been broken down into 6 segments or 4 segments because APM syllabus specifies PEST, so that's why I have considered this. Otherwise, we can consider PESTEL model as well. There's no problem. Collectively, the factors identified through PEST or PESTEL analysis represents opportunities and threats which an organization could face. Yes, when there is a shift in the political landscape or economic or social or technological or ecological or legal, there would be either opportunities or threats for the organization. A very classic case, I can share it with you, you might have heard in the news, that is TikTok. You might have heard that in US, how the TikTok has been the under discussion, and there is a threat from the like in US that TikTok could be banned in the US. So there are threats for the TikTok. Same case, you can think about other different technology companies or the different, for example, if there's a regulatory change in EU about the social media platforms, or there is a new regulatory change in Australia or in China or in Middle East or in Asia or in India. So how these changes may affect the performance of the organization. So this is political situation. Okay, so political and legal environment, the stability of a political system can affect the appeal of particular market. Yes, if the political landscape is stable, then it would be favorable. It is considered as favorable for businesses if the political and legal environment is stable, because that means that the government policies, government priorities, government overall like their focus all are you can say are stable. Okay, so this would bring confidence for investors and businessmen. So they would be willing to invest further, or they would be willing to like invest in new business activities, in new projects, in new like business development strategies they would be developing if there is a stability in the political system of a particular region or a country. Shifts in political environment could have direct impact on business performance. Yes, that is a very simple thing. For example, if a new government is in power, so new government might have the different priorities. The new government might have the different policies. They may try to abandon the policies from the last government. So this would not be favorable for many industries. This would not be favorable for many companies. Like, for example, we are seeing in many parts of the world where there are political landscape have shifted. For example, in US, if you consider that how the new US government has different policies as comparison to the last government. So for example, the new government is less interested in the climate change activities, and the climate or the environment is not the priority for the new government. So imagine all those companies that have invested billions of dollars in their strategies in the past government is going to be affected. And the current government has more focus on AI. So all those companies which are related to AI, data centers, so they are going to be benefit from the new policies. So this is just one example. This happens all around the world. Okay, because business stability, economic stability comes with political stability. Okay, so I hope you have understood all this. For your reading, you can go through these articles. These are interesting articles that can offer you some good understanding and insights about how the political landscape may affect the performance. Next one is economic environment. Yes, economic environment, how economy would be affecting the performance of the organization, how the economic changes may affect the performance of the organization when there is inflation, when there is a recession, when there are like growth in the economy. For example, if the economy is growing at 4%, 5%, 6%, 7%, that means the wealth is being generated. If the economy is growing at 4, 5, 6, 7, means higher rate of growth. That means there will be a lot of business activity, and that means there will be a lot of opportunities for every industry. Okay, when there's economic activity is increasing, so that means there will be more jobs opportunities, and when there are more job opportunities, mean more and more people will have the income. When more people will have income, there will be spending, so there will be more demand for consumer goods, there will be more demand for electronics. For example, there will be more demand for furniture, there will be more demand for homes, there will be more demand for home furnishing, there will be more demand for services. For example, more people will go into cinemas, more people will go for restaurants, more people will go for hoteling. So When there is economic boom, economic activity is rise, that means there will be more demand generated. So this would be more favorable for the business organizations and different industries. But now look on the other side. When there is a poor economic activity, when there is a recession is going on, okay, for example, we can see in many parts of the world, like especially in Europe, for example, you might have heard that how the German economy, how the British economy, they are experiencing the kind of recession. So this is affecting now the overall the confidence of investors, confidence of the business community, and that means now people are spending less because there are fears, there are like concerns that what if they would lose job. So that's why people would prefer to save their money. So this is on the both sides. When the economic activity is up or when economic activity is down, this is a fact. This has effect on a lot of other factors as well. So APM questions might ask you about this. For example, suggest KPIs or evaluate existing KPIs, that whether existing KPIs are reflect these economic changes or not. Okay. Next factor is called social, cultural, demographic, and demographic environment. How this would affect the performance of the organization. There is, for example, there's a like change in the people behaviors. There's a change in the people taste. There's a change in people lifestyle. Okay, there's a change in people customs. There's a change in people attitudes. So all these affect the performance of the organization. All these factors would affect performance in different ways. So the for 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 the management, or the we can say executive management or the board, this is very important that they are monitoring all these shifts happening in the society. Okay, for example, these days you might have heard that more and more people now are preferring to buy local products. So this is a new movement. Okay, kind of, you can say, nationalist movement, nationalist feelings. So increasingly all around the world, this is now increasing gradually. So that's why this is on the one side opportunity for the local businesses, opportunity for the local industries to offer better products to their local customers. But this is a threat for the multinationals if these type of movements and if these type of uh, like activities start growing. Other sides, we can talk about more and more people now demand healthy products. So this is a increasing trend. On the other side, increasingly people are becoming aware of the environment. Increasingly people are becoming about the climate change. Increasingly people now want the business organization to be more responsible, to have the more responsible business practices. So these are all trends now are up. These all trends are increasing. So businesses need to consider all these patterns into their performance management and their performance measurement. Yes, for example, we talk about climate change. So, or we talk about ethical business practices. So businesses need to be more transparent. Businesses need to be more clear. They need to be like this would affect their behaviors of the decision making of the executives, that how they make decisions by considering all these factors into their decision making in their planning systems as well. So if a business would not consider these, there will be problems. The customers would boycott the products, and this would spread on the social media very fast. That's why we need to monitor, being the businessman, we need to monitor what people are talking about. What are their preferences? What are the issues going on? So all these need to be considered in performance measurement systems of the organization. The next point is about technological factors affecting the performance of the organization. We know that AI, in the last 2 years, there's a boom of AI is going on. Okay, increasingly, businesses all around the world, they are testing how AI systems, how AI based technologies can be integrated into their processes, into their operations, into their products, into their services. So, by the way, you can expect now a question on advanced performance management paper directly or indirectly related to technological advancements. And there is a reason, because there is a complete section on technology and information systems, section B of the syllabus. Okay, so technological advancements are shifting very fast. We are seeing that how the machine learning and now more advanced products are being introduced. We are talking about agents, we're talking about chatbots, more and more integration of AI into the like systems of the organization. Okay, so there's a very interesting debates are going on, very interesting transformation are going on. Okay, culture of the organization is being affected, the organization portfolios are being affected, the everything, there's a massive you can say disruption is going on a technology landscape as well. Okay, so for example, I have put a list for you that how technological change can affect the activities of an organization. All right, so there are different ways. For example, the type of products or services that are made and sold, technology can impact this one. The way in which products are made, for example, production, manufacturing, for example, online shopping, the way in which firms are managed. Yes, for example, you can talk about the remote work. You can talk about the work from home culture. Okay, the way firms communicate internally and externally. Again, you can talk about work from home culture, that how organizations connect, how they communicate with different teams, with different people with who are working in different regions of the world. The way dependence on the natural resources, and they also are under pressure to have more responsible business practices. They are under pressure to have the more ethical business practices. They are under pressure to be more transparent. They are under pressure to show the transparency in their supply chains, how they are doing their business. So there's a lot of debates are going on, a lot of discussions are going on, not only related to technology, but also related to the ecology as well. Okay, so and you know, at performance management level, there is a separate topic named environmental management accounting that we will be covering later in the coming classes. Okay, so in overall, there is a lot of discussion. There are a lot of pressures. There are a lot of environmental changes are happening. Okay, so business organizations are under pressure too, about their sourcing materials, about their sourcing of products, about their supply chains. For example, imagine agriculture industries, food industries that rely on uh, the inputs, that rely on soil, that rely on weather. Okay, so if there are extreme weather conditions, if there are more flooding, if there are more water restrictions, if there are supply chain disruptions or collapses, so this would affect the supply chains global scale. Okay, so that's why businesses need to consider all these risks into their planning. They need to consider all these risks into their strategies. They need to consider all these risks into their performance management and performance measurement systems. This is the point that you need to understand. Okay, I hope you have understood. For example, climate factors are becoming particularly to strict environmental legislation, faced with the risk that their sources of raw materials will be used up, or at the leading edge of technological research, such as producers of genetically modified foods. So those industries, those companies that rely on natural resources are under pressure about all these. Okay, so I hope you have understood that how you need to discuss and what you like you need to know about all these shifts and their impact on performance of the organization. Here is a one question from the past papers that we can discuss. This is from December 2028. So if we look at the requirement of the question says, advice on the usefulness of PEST analysis for the company. This is one of the style of questions, that usefulness of PEST analysis. But keep in mind that when you are discussing usefulness of PEST analysis for the company, this is not just a theory. This is not a repetition of theory. This is what you have to discuss within the context of the company, company. So when you are explaining P or E or S or T, you have to connect all the dots with the company. Okay, there should not be discussion of just simple theory. Look at examiner comment. Answer to this part were generally fairly good, although candidates again offered answers that dealt only heading by heading with the method and did not address, that is the point, did not address how the model as a whole assists the company. So the point is that you have to discuss this model within the context of the company. Okay, so this is a one type of question in the past paper. There are other questions as well. Okay, so now we are starting our model number 2, Porter 5 Forces model. Porter 5 Forces model is the model for understanding competition, is the model for understanding markets, is the model for understanding industries and the level of competition within the industries. Okay. At SBL level, this model is used to analyze the nature of competition in an industry or a market. At SPL level, this model is used to understand and know about the intensity of the competition in a market or industry. Okay, so this would help the organization to redesign their strategies, redraft their strategic planning, and how to win the competition, But at APM level, this model is used to analyze and evaluate how different competitive forces or how different competitors in a market or industry may affect performance of the organization. So you have to study this one in the context of performance. Porter argued that state of competition in an industry and therefore ability of that industry as a whole to sustain profits determined by 5 competitive forces. There are 5 competitive forces that determine the ability of the industry to sustain profits. Number 1, threat of new entrants. Are there new entrants? The threat means that can the new entrants enter into the market easily, or there are difficulties for the new entrants to make entry into the new market? Okay, so that threat is determined by the barriers to entry. If there are high barriers to entry, that means this threat will be low. But if there are low barriers mean like any business can enter into the market and start competing. So that means the competition level will be high and this threat will be high too. Number 2, the threat of substitute products or services. Yes, we are seeing in this age of disruption. What word I'm using? Age of disruption. We are seeing in this age of disruption that how alternative business models are emerging in almost every industry. Classic examples of today's economic environment, I can give you the like electric vehicles, EVs, for example, or you can think about alternative sources of energy, such as solar, such as wind, or you can talk about the like alternative fuels in food industry, in agriculture industry, in like furniture industry, in housing construction. We are seeing that there are alternative materials, alternative products, alternative solutions are emerging. Okay, so we can say that in most or majority of the industries and markets are having this threat high. The reason, because there are new disruptors are emerging. For example, AI, how AI is enabling the new startups to challenge the conventional big industries. Okay, for example, Uber, you can talk about. You can talk about Netflix, for example. You can talk about Spotify, for example. So all these are alternative. I would also suggest like alternative, like organic food, for example, how they are challenging the conventional food industry, health focused products. So, for example, less sugar or zero sugar products. So, similar in cooking industry, for example, we are seeing that how more healthy options are emerging in cookware products. So, there, as I told you, that this threat for many industries, this threat is rising. Next, bargaining power. So the point is, when threats are rising, how businesses are responding to these threats. That is the point that you need to note down, that how different businesses are responding to these threats. Okay, because APM question may ask you this type of questions as well. See, next one is bargaining power of customers. Customers. Who are your customers? Are your customers B2B or your customers are B2C? Means whether your customers are business customers or your customers are end consumers. Okay, so this and the bargaining power of customers is also shifting in a lot of ways and lot of industries. So first of all, we can discuss the threat of new entrants. As we discussed, that threat of new entrants depends upon, sorry, there are five forces like bargaining power, threat of new entrants, threat of substitutes, bargaining power of customers. Bargaining power of customers depend on different situations. Bargaining power of suppliers. Sometimes suppliers can also be in a strong position to bargain with their customers, especially when suppliers are large. And then the fifth force of competition is the rivalry among current competitors in the industry. So we can quickly go through. First of all, threat of new entrants. As I mentioned, that this threat would be higher when there are low barriers to entry. But if there are high barriers to entry, this threat will be low. So what could be those barriers to entry? For example, economies of scale. If existing players or existing businesses are already enjoying their economies of scale, it would be difficult for the new entrant to achieve those economies and achieve that cost level. Because if a business is at economies of scale, their average cost would be at the lowest level because of the economies. And they would be in a position to charge lower prices because they have low cost level, low cost structure. But for the new entrant, it would be difficult to achieve that cost level in the beginning because they have to establish first. So that's the point. Number two, capital requirements. A lot of industries require huge investments at the start. So it may not be possible for everyone or new entrants to have that level of capital, to have that scale of capital and investments. So this would become a barrier for many industries. Next, access to supply. for this or distribution channels, yes, sometimes this would become a barrier for the new vendors because they may not have the access to the distribution channels, or they may not have the access to supply channels, or they might have difficulty in sourcing raw materials, sourcing ingredients, sourcing the other different components which might be required for their production. Or on the lower side, they may not have access to the distribution of their products to end consumers. So there might be, you can say, upstream or downstream challenges for the new entrants. I can write it for you this point: upstream or downstream challenges. Upstream or downstream challenges. So that's why many companies, they may prefer to go for acquisitions or mergers when they find that there would be challenges related to upstream or downstream issues. Next, suppliers and customer loyalty. A lot of businesses, they enjoy their customers' loyalty or their suppliers' loyalty, and it may be difficult for the new entrant to achieve those loyalties in the beginning. So this would become a barrier. Next, cost disadvantage and independent of scale. Yes, the new players, because in the beginning they will have to invest, it will take time for them to find customers. It would take time for them to achieve the economies, okay, and then lower their cost, okay. Next, expected retaliation. This is also possible that the existing companies, existing businesses, they may retaliate when a new player enter into their market. There are many different tricks, there are many different tactics, many different methods of retaliation. For example, existing players may start aggressive marketing. They may cut their prices in order to make it difficult for the new player to sell at those prices, and many other tricks as well. Some industries can be protected by the government regulations. So if any industry is regulated, then it would be difficult for the new players, new companies, new businesses to make entry into those industries. And then the last point is differentiation. For example, differentiated products and services that are considered higher value, okay, if they are offered by competitors. So product may be differentiated in terms of price, and differentiation may be eroded if competitors can imitate the products or services being offered. So the point is that if existing players are already have their differentiation strategy, so it would be difficult for the new player to make a space in such competitive environment. Okay, next, threat of substitutes. Threat of substitutes refers to the ease with which consumers may shift to competing products and services, as I discussed earlier with you. Examples of these include renewable energy, electric vehicles, green and organic products, online, virtual, and emerging wireless technologies. All these are emerging as threats for conventional products. Next, power of buyers. The power of the buyer will be high where there are few large players in a market. For example, large supermarket chain can apply a great deal of price pressure on their potential suppliers. Yes, if buyers are big, if buyers buy in bulk quantities, okay, if the cost of switching between supplier is low, if the buyer's product is not significantly affected by quality of the supplier product, okay, if buyers earn low profits, if buyers have the potential for backward integration, they can go and acquire their suppliers. Okay, and if buyers are well informed, understand. So these are the few situations or different situations where the power of buyers would be stronger. and they would dictate their suppliers. But this is not the always case. Sometimes suppliers would be in a stronger position and they would dictate, they would influence the profitability of their customers. For example, if there are large number of customers but there are few suppliers, if switching costs are high, it would be difficult for the customers to switch. Okay, there are like brands, for example, BMW, Microsoft. So supplier brand is powerful than retailer might not be able to operate a particular brand in a range of products. Yes, we have seen in a lot of like manufacturers who are so powerful that they would influence their dealers. Let's say Honda, for example, Honda bikes, Honda cars, Toyota, for example, because these are very strong and very established brands. So they would not compromise on their profitability because they are so powerful. And their dealers, for example, would be having smaller power. So they would depend on these larger players. Next, there's a possibility of the supplier integrating forward, such as brewery buying restaurants. Yes, this is also possible, where the supplier find that they need to make entry into the next phase or next stage. So they would go and buy their customers. Customers are fragmented so that they have little bargaining power. Yes, fragmented mean they are scattered. They are fragmented. Okay, so that would also make the case where suppliers would be powerful. For example, petrol stations. Okay, and the fifth component is called competitive rivalry. Competitive rivalry means how existing players or existing businesses in a market, how they compete with each other. Here are the different situations where existing players would compete, and the intensity of the competition among existing players would be very high. For example, there are a number of equally balanced competitors of similar size, mean all the players in the industry or the market have almost similar size. So then it would make the competition tough. The rate of market growth is slow. Yes, imagine if the market has matured or the market has saturated. So this would also make the case that they would be competing with each other for existing market share. Because if the market is growing, that would be a different situation. But if the market has got slow, then they have to compete for that customers or those customers. Everyone is trying to attract those customers. That's a very interesting situation. Next, there's a lack of differentiation between competitors. Means they have almost similar products. Everyone has almost similar products. There's a lack of differentiation. This would also make the competition intense. Next, the industry has high fixed cost, perhaps as a result of capital intensity. Capital intensity means that they have invested heavily, means their large amounts of capital has now got stuck in the industry or the business or the market, and it is difficult to switch their capital to other users. Understand? So this means they would have little other options other than to compete in the existing business. Okay, so they will start competing on prices, then cutting prices. So price wars will start. What? Price wars. Okay, and then what if there are high exit barriers? High exit barriers mean entry in the industry or the market would be easy, but exit would be different. For example, there would be a lot of liabilities, there would be regulation, there would be a lot of compliance that must be fulfilled in order to exit, or there could be other exit barriers as well. So businesses would have no other option other than to compete and remain within the market. So they will compete on the prices. Okay, so these are the five forces that affect the competition in an industry or the market. Now we can discuss that how this paper have been tested in the past papers. If we look at the past paper, this topic has been tested, I think, 2 or 3 times. And let me have a look at the past paper, recent one. By the way, there is a government role as well, which is considered as sixth force. For example, like rising regulatory and compliance requirements, for example, social media platforms. So governments are monitoring these social media platforms more closely because of a lot of reasons. You might have heard about the misinformation, disinformation, propaganda, and all these issues, disinformation threats. And that's why governments are now closely monitoring social media platforms. Okay, like data, for example, controls, ownership, confidentiality, climate and emissions, health and safety, revenue sharing, governance, taxation, digital economy, protective industries. So all these examples I have discussed here about how government are uh, playing their role, okay, and influencing the business activities. Here are the past paper questions related to this topic, where you will have the opportunity to learn about how this topic would be tested. This question dealt with issues of performance measure and management at retailer. Part A of the question asked for an explanation of how an analysis of the threat of new entrants could help improve performance in this business, and asked for some KPIs to measure this threat. You can see how this question has been set. The question is only based on analysis of threat of new entrants. Analysis of threat of new entrants and how it could help improve performance in this business. And if we look at the examiner comments, this part was done reasonably. Okay. Part B of the question required candidates to discuss the use of combination of 4 suggested measures and how to handle conflict between them. Okay. Use of combination of 4 suggested measures and how to handle conflicts between those measures. Sometimes measures may conflict with each other. So how to deal with those conflicts. Okay. Next, part C was asked for advice on the risk of a new loyalty card system. The business is planning to introduce a new loyalty card system, and what could be the risks of new loyalty card system introduction. My dear, this type of questions would be challenging. Okay, so you need to try, you need to think about, because simple theory would not work. Whatever you will write, it must be context focused. Context focused. Context. This is the word that you need to memorize now, that your answer should be context based. It should not be simple theory. Okay? Context based recommendation. Okay. All right. So there's another question. Question number 4, December 15. This question is also not available. The question was about advice on how Porter 5 forces assessment could be used to manage the high forces given in the question, assessing the difficulties in defining and measuring the forces, and also to provide a justified performance measure to assess the strength of each of those forces. So this type of questions are quite tricky. Okay, our next now model is called SWOT analysis. SWOT analysis, the both models that we have covered already, the best and the 5 forces, you can fit SWOT in both of them, because SWOT is about analyzing strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats of the organization. Okay, at SBL level, you have studied SWOT in the context of strategic planning, strategic positioning, strategy analysis, okay, or strategy review. Okay, at SBL level, this model is used for strategic review, strategic planning, strategy analysis, strategic positioning analysis, etc., etc. But here, this model is used for analyzing how SWOT factors may impact performance of the organization, or if there are changes in SWOT factors, for example, internal and external factors changes, how this would affect the performance of the organization. So, for example, in the both Pestel model and five forces, both are external analysis models, external analysis tools. So opportunities and threats both comes from external, and strengths and weaknesses come from internal factors. Okay, so this is the point you need to understand. If we look at the past papers, this topic has been tested just one time. For example, if we look at this question from June 2015, Part 1 required an assessment of the 5 existing performance metrics in light of the strategy of the organization and issues noted in recent SWOT analysis. Now, this type of questions are not straightforward. Not straightforward. This type of questions require you some different mindset. Let me read the question again. Assessment of 5 existing performance metrics mean there are 5 performance measures given. You have to assess those measures in the light of strategy. Means you are given strategy of the organization, and that strategy might be cost leader strategy or differentiation strategy that we are going to discuss next. That can be cost leader, that can be differentiation, or that can be focused strategy, whatever strategy is. Then there are 5 measures of the performance are given. Okay, and then you are required to assess those measures in the context of the strategy of the organization and issues noted in recent SWOT analysis. It means you are given a SWOT analysis already. Please listen. You are given a SWOT analysis already performed. Means a SWOT analysis is provided in the question. You have to consider those strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats in your discussions. So that means you have to connect 3 areas in your discussion. You have to connect SWOT, you have to connect strategy of the organization, and you have to connect the 5 KPIs or 5 performance measures. So then you will be able to assess whether these 5 measures are effective, are suitable for this situation or not. Okay, so I hope you understand this very interesting requirement. I would suggest that you should go through this examiner comment, because examiner comments would offer you very rich insights about mistakes and how you need to prepare for all this. Okay, our next topic is now Boston Consulting Group metrics. This topic, this model is normally studied as a portfolio analysis tool, portfolio analysis, because this model is used for analyzing portfolio of a group that has large number of products, large number of businesses, large number of different segments, units, okay, and want to analyze its portfolio within this framework. There are 4 positions according to this framework. On the one side, there is market dimension. So markets can be mature market or growing market. On the other side, there is a market share dimension. So market share can be high, market share can be low. On this basis, we can categorize the portfolio into 4 categories. four categories are: first, we can say that there is a problem child. Problem child, also called question mark. Problem child, also called question mark. This is a product or business unit that is operating with low market share but in a high growth market. Market is growing, but the share of this business unit is low. So we have to decide what to do with this. Number two is a dog, is called dog business or dog product. This is a product that is operating in a low growth market, also called mature market, with low market share. So we have to decide what to do with dog, whether we should continue or discontinue this one. Number three is called cash cow. Cash cow is a business unit or a product that is operating in a mature market, but maybe market leader because it has a high market share. So with high market share, it can be a market leader. So we, of course, we cannot think about discontinuing or abandoning this product, but we have to think differently. We have to think about how we can get maximum benefits out of the cash cow. Maximum benefits out of the cash cow. Okay, so this is the cash cow. Number four is called Star. Star is a product that's operating in a high growth market and with high market share. A star can be market leader, maybe, or it might be near to the market leader or next to the market leader. It may be number two or number third largest player in the industry or the market. So, of course, we cannot think about, or it would be difficult to think that we should discontinue or abandon this one. Rather, we need to invest. Okay, invest in the star. So now we can discuss that how these four topics can be tested in the APM paper. Okay, there are different, if we look at the past paper, this has been tested differently. Let's say this topic can be tested in the context of budgeting. Yes, budgeting and controls. Budgeting and controls. I can note here for you. Study these portfolio or study this topic in the context of strategic planning and controls. Okay, so whether what type of controls we need to introduce, and also, yes, as well as management style. Keep in mind, this is also one of the topic in the APM paper, management style. Management style. So what should be the management style for each? Okay, such as what style to introduce, what style to use for cash cow for star product. Okay, one style which is suitable for one may not be suitable for other. For example, for star we need to more invest. For star we need to have more lenient strategy for the star because our star is growing, so we cannot hamper its growth. We need to avoid any action that might hamper the growth of the star. Okay, such as for star, which approach would be suitable? so that its growth should not be affected. Okay, so we have to decide on this. So this model is used at APM level for this, like this one, for example, STAR. So performance management approach for STAR, okay, and it should be non-accounting style. Non-accounting style means we should not have strong controls in STAR, strong controls on cost, controls on like cash flows. Okay. For question mark, we need to have a different style or management approach that is called profit conscious approach. Profit conscious mean yes, we can invest in a question mark because question mark is operating in a high growth market, but we need to move with clear targets. This is called profit conscious style. Yes, we can invest in the question mark, but we need to be very clear with very clear targets. Cash cows are those that are operating in a low growth market but with high market share. So we need to follow a budget constraint style. Keep in mind this topic you will be learning in section C of the syllabus, but I have discussed here just in the context that you should know that this Boston Consulting Group matrix is used at APM level differently. Next is called dog. So what should be the approach for dog? Which method is suitable for dog? So that is called budget constraint style. Budget constraint style means that we need to uh, have very strong, effective controls on cost. We need to avoid any expenses or any spendings, or we need to focus less on marketing, research and development, skill development, quality, and etc., because this is a dog product. Okay, so for dog, we need to have a different management style. All right. So, my dear, this is the way how we look at the or how we need to study Boston Consulting Group at APM level. So, I hope you have understood that the application of BCG matrix is different at APM and at SPL level. Okay. All right. And here we go for our. By the way, there's a past paper question. Now the question is a little bit uh, in from June 2011. Okay, but still it can help you somehow how to understand because after this it has not been tested. Next topic is about Porter generic strategies. Porter generic strategies are also part of the SPL paper. Porter generic strategies is studied at SPL level as a way to sustain competitive advantage, as a way to achieve competitive advantage. Porter generic strategies like cost leader, differentiation, and focus, these are studied. These are studied at SPL in a way to teach us that how a business can achieve competitive advantage in a market and how it can sustain. But at APM level, its application is different. Here at APM level, you need to study this model in the context of achieving, or sorry, in the context of designing suitable performance management and measurement system. What that means. Let me have a quick reading from this so you can have some idea. A firm's relative position within its industry determines whether a firm's profitability is above or below the industry average. Yes, its strategic positioning will determine its profitability. The fundamental basis of above average profitability in the long term is sustainable competitive advantage. Yes, the ability of the business to sustain its competitive advantage in the long term would offer above average profitability. There are two basic types of competitive advantage a firm can possess. Either it can be low cost or differentiation. The two basic types of competitive advantage combined with the scope of activities for which a firm seeks to achieve them lead to three generic strategies. Okay, so these three generic strategies are cost leader, differentiation, and focus. Let me make it more simple for you that the application of these strategies at APM level is different. Okay, as I mentioned earlier, that APM questions may ask you evaluate performance measures, or performance measurement systems, whether they are suitable for cost leader, for differentiation, or focus. Let me make it more clear for you. APM question might ask you recommend suitable KPIs, recommend or evaluate critical success factors for cost leader, for differentiation, or focus strategy. So this is the point you need to understand. I can write a note for you as well. That APM questions may require students to evaluate the existing strategy and critical success factors and KPIs. Okay. And recommend suitable measures. For example, if existing KPIs are not effective, then you may be required to recommend suitable KPIs as well. And other question may test or may test how various new projects such as total quality management or just in time or new information systems would help the strategy would help the existing strategy. Okay, how new information system would help the strategy, or the question may ask you evaluate existing information system in the context of the strategy, or evaluate existing information system. That would be very interesting question. Information system in the context of current strategy. So what you need to do is you have to identify, you have to evaluate whether existing information system is supportive to the current strategy or not. Is it supportive and effective? Okay, so I hope that you have understood that how these topics are tested at APM level. So cost leader, what is cost leader? Cost leader is where a business, a firm wants to become or set out to become the low cost producer in the industry. So by becoming a low cost producer in the industry, they would be able to charge lower prices. in the industry, lower prices to the customers. So by charging a lower prices, it may be difficult for other competitors to sell their products or services at the same price. So this business would have this advantage. For example, you might have heard about no-frill airlines. No-frill airlines are one of the type of this strategy. By the way, there are now new business models are emerging. For example, no-frill airlines or budget hotels, for example, they are also examples of cost leader because they need to keep their cost structure low in order to be able to offer the lowest prices in the industry. Number two strategy is called differentiation. What is differentiation? Differentiation involves offering a unique product and different product, okay, to the customer with some value addition. Differentiation involves offering a unique and different product that add value, and hence the business would be able to charge a premium price for that added value. In auto industry, we can see that on the one side, Toyota, Suzuki, they are following cost leader position. They are more economic and they use more standardized components. Okay, but on the other side, if we look at the BMW, Mercedes, or Porsche, they follow differentiation strategy because all these cars are considered as luxury cars and they have different their premium they have different value additions in terms of quality, in terms of safety, in terms of luxury, in terms of their design, and they charge premium prices as well. So this is the difference between cost leader and differentiation. And a drop like for a cost leader, it is not easy because in order to become a cost leader, a business need to have not only economies of scale, but also strong cost controls as well. Okay, so these are the prerequisites for the cost leader. Okay, let me write this one for you. The prerequisites for a cost leader would be like economies plus the strong cost controls. Because if cost controls are weak, that means the cost would fluctuate. If cost is fluctuating, this would affect profit margins for a cost leader. But on the differentiation side, the business would be having more customer loyalty. And customer loyalty can be achieved with value addition, adding value. And there are different ways of adding value. That adding value, for example, related to, you can say, it can be related to design, it can be related to features, it can be related to quality, it can be related to convenience, it can be related to after sale service, it can be related to customer service, etc., etc. So there are different ways how differentiation based business models they compete. Now, considering all this, I hope you have understood that because cost leader and differentiation, these are the separate strategies, so they need different information system as well. Information systems and performance measurement systems need to be different. So there is no one size fit for all. Mean information system and performance measurement system used by cost leader would not be suitable for the one using differentiation strategy. Okay, businesses will need to choose their information and performance measurement and management systems based on their strategy selection or their choice of strategy. And there's a very clear reason. Very clear reason. There is compelling reasons. Their markets and customers are different. Their target markets and customers are different. Okay, so I hope this will help you to understand this one. The third generic strategy is called focus, and focus strategy is about suitable when the markets are like the generic strategy focus rests on choice of narrow comparative scope within the industry. The focuser selects a particular product, market, or customer segment or a group of segments in the industry and tailors its strategy accordingly. So that is the specialty of a focus strategy. Instead of competing in the whole market, instead of competing in the whole market, business with a niche strategy or a focus strategy would choose a particular product, would choose a particular segment, would choose a particular group of customers and start serving to that group of customers. Okay, there are many ways to choose the group, the target product, market, customer segment based on the type of the product or service offerings, and segmenting customers on the basis of age, income, geographic, demographic, value, and needs as well. So these are the different ways where a business can scan the market and choose one group of customers. Okay, the focus strategy can be further divided into two variants. These are cost focus and differentiation focus. Under cost focus, a business would, by targeting the specific segment of the customer, would offer low price products. Okay, with a differentiation focus, a business would stay focused on that particular group of customer, but would offer high value added and premium products and charging a premium price as well. So these are the two further variants of our focus strategy. And I already have discussed with you that how the performance management, advanced performance management questions would test your knowledge in these areas. Okay, I have left this table blank for you so that you can fill. For example, the three different types of strategies are here. And you can put these like nature of information required. You know, every strategy demands different type of information. For a cost leader, there are different information requirements. For differentiation, there are different. And for focus, there are different types of measures. As I told you that there will be no same measures used. There will be different measures used. Cost controls and innovative mindset. Yes, this is also different demands. Culture, very important. For every strategy requires different type of culture. So we can't say a same culture would be suitable for all three. Culture, yes, there's a famous saying that culture eats strategy in the breakfast. Culture eats strategy in the breakfast. So you need to know about this. And then management style. Management style will also be different as dependent. It will be determined by the strategy of the organization. Okay, so I think that is sufficient for our this lecture number 3, class number 3. And in the next class, I would suggest go through this balanced scorecard approach. Now, interestingly, the balanced scorecard model is used twice in APM as a performance management tool as a performance measurement tool. So here we are studying all these models as performance management tools. What? Performance management tools, like Pestel analysis is a performance management tool, like Porter 5 Forces performance management tool, and then generic strategies as performance management tool, BCG metrics as a performance management tool, SWOT as a performance management tool, and here is the balanced scorecard as a performance management tool. But you will have the opportunity to study balanced scorecard again in the last section, section D, where we will be studying this as a performance measurement tool. So I would recommend go through this one. It's a simple, very simple. Just enjoy, read about it. And in the next class, we will be starting our topics from budgeting and controls. So our new topics that we will be starting will be topic number 6, budgeting approaches and performance controls, where we will be covering the different approaches towards budgeting. Okay, thank you. And that's all from our today class. Bye.